Well, we've got a Johnny Somali update. I will say we're recording this on the day that South Korea apparently initiated martial law and then quickly prevented martial law from happening as well, which was all a bit of a weird thing that happened super, super quick. Bo, did you follow this thing in South Korea that happened really quickly?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all happened today, didn't it? It happened in the
Pretty
afternoon.
mad.
So I'm not actually sure. I know I don't follow South Korean politics closely. I mean, really closely, sort of week to week, day to day, knowing the ins and outs of South Korean politicians and stuff. I know a fair bit about Korean history, but not actually the minutiae of their party politics. So yeah, but it looks like that. Well, different people on Twitter were saying all different things about it. That the guy, what is it, Yoon or something?
The president, South
Yeah,
Korean president, wasn't it?
that he's not sort of an ultra based nationalist type or anything. He's sort of a bit of a wet conservative type, and that the idea that he's saving South Korea from some sort of North Korean conservative plot is not quite right. That's not really what's going on. So it's difficult. All different people are saying all different things, but he said he was bringing in martial law to save South Korea from communism. But then other people saying he was getting impeached, and in order to hold on to power, he was sort of it was just a face saving, power saving thing purely for himself. So, and not knowing the ins and outs of it, I won't say exactly what it is, but there's lots of takes flying around at the moment, and I guess we'll see over the coming days and weeks what really happened there.
It's fascinating that
it's interesting.
It's important just to talk about that briefly because obviously Johnny Somali is in South Korea. So I just think to myself like, oh well, you know, if this martial law continues, like what's going to happen to Johnny Somali? I was like, god damn. But basically, he's got a trial date. So Johnny Somali has a trial date. He is going to trial, full blown. He's going to trial. But a bit of your history on South Korea can come in now because one of the main things that he did, which offended the majority of people, was the comfort woman statue disrespect. Do you want to mention a little bit about that? Do you know about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, God, it's so disrespectful, isn't it? When just a trauma. So the whole of Korea is a sort of a fairly traumatized place in all sorts of ways. The 20th century, and the 19th century, but the 20th century was a bad time for a few places in the world. Some places in Eastern Europe, places like Korea and Japan, places like actually modern day Myanmar or Burma as it was, Thailand. Some of these places had a real bad time, and the comfort women, I mean, it's to do with you know what's the it's to do with being used as
sex slaves
essentially, right? Yeah, I mean, what kind of a trauma is that? And you take and there's a statue, a monument to it, and he was taking the piss out of it. It's the sort of thing you're not supposed to approach, let alone touch. And what he went and sat down and put his arm around it or some crap.
Like hugged it, kissed it, danced on it.
It's like you're facing a Holocaust memorial or the cenotaph, any sort of war memorial, or defacing a grave or something. It's on that level, right? It really is sort of on that level. So it's beyond rude. It's sort of despicable, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of almost into the realm of unbelievable. Right? How could you be such a douchebag? How could you?
Yeah,
you know?
It goes into the sort of evil territory, I think, to be fair. Like it's like, what you're doing, bizarre. And so then the other thing that he did was, which he live streamed, because that's what he does, because he's just a scumbag, was obstruct a business, basically. So throwing around noodles in a business, a 7-Eleven, throwing around ramen and threatening people and just pouring drinks all over the place and just being just a douche, just a wanker for no apparent reason, just aside from getting money on stream, I guess. Really weird.
One of the things I would say, I think I've said before, if I haven't, I'll say it now, is that there's
He's a dysgenic freak.
yeah,
Even though I've said that before.
yeah, that Korea, like Japan, is one of those cultures where they're more polite even than Western Europe or the United States. They're sort of more conscious of social norms and being polite and quiet and respectful. So for us, this is someone like Johnny Somali is frustrating and annoying, and we think of him as something like mad or evil. To them, it's like this is something out of a different world. This is something out of a different timeline.
It's like beyond parody.
Yeah, it's like he sort of can't believe it, and the fact that some of these sort of content creators go to places like Japan or South Korea to pull this kind of stunt. It's so sweet that he's actually being prosecuted for it. It's so sweet. It's like sometimes, just sometimes, there's justice in the world, right? Real social justice, an actual form of social justice. I really, I mean, it's not a good look to be vindictive, but I hope he serves some sort of custodial sentence. I really do.
Oh, it does. All norms are out the window when it comes to Johnny Somali. I hope he gets. I hope he's in prison for a very long time. 100%. Like, this is someone that needs to. He's not going to learn otherwise. He's not going to learn at all, and he probably won't even learn then.
Yeah, I was going to say he probably won't learn. He'll probably just become resentful and not learn a thing. The thing about South Korea, from what I understand, is that their judicial system can be, not always, of course, but can be quite draconian. So fingers crossed they throw the book at him and he actually does do a fair bit of time, because in the scheme of things, they're not terrible crimes, right? They're not actual violent crimes as such.
Well, he also has drug charges that they're looking into.
Yeah. Okay. Because sometimes depends sort of what their system's like, whether it's a magistrate and how draconian he wants to go with it. But in some countries, not so much in Western Europe, but even in some states in the United States, if the authorities want to throw the book at you for having a tiny amount of drugs on you, they can. So I wonder if, fingers crossed.
It also extends to potentially spreading North Korean propaganda as well, because he was on a subway, blasting out North Korean music.
Yeah, someone in the chat has just said he's got a terrorist charges.
That's the North Korean propaganda one, yeah.
Right. So again, in the, sort of the normal scheme of things, they might look at someone and say, he's not a North Korean. He's not a North Korean, and he's not actually trying to subvert our democracy. But when you got somebody like this, a problem, and they want to just throw the book at you,
to make an example of him.
To make an example of him. I hope they do. I really hope they do. Apart from anything else, to keep him off the streets of everywhere else in the world, to keep his type of vile content off of the internet, it'd be nice. Yeah. It'd be a nice message.
Quick, I got a question for you guys. Do you guys think during the Trump administration that we will get a unified North and South Korea?
Oh no, not in a million years.
No, it won't be unified. No, not so.
I think that the crazy guy up north has figured out he's in the worst no-win situation.
Yeah.
Because China's like right there waiting for him to do dumb.
Yeah.
I've studied the Korean War in a fair bit of depth, and all sorts of things. I know a fair bit about.
What were you watching? MASH.
MASH. I loved MASH. I used to love MASH.
Yeah.
Love the theme tune.
That was your studying the war, right? That show that ran 3 times as long as the war did.
My grandfather.
I'm fascinated by the Korean War. I mean, British troops were involved in it. A lot of people think it was just the Americans, but no, there was.
They show British troops in MASH.
Oh right, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm talking about the actual history of it, the Manchester Rifles.
Me too.
Anyway, whilst the CCP sits in Beijing, almost certainly there will be a communist regime in North Korea. The Chinese communists will support the North Korean communists, even though their relationship is extremely difficult and very interesting and many layered. And sometimes the Chinese are extremely embarrassed by the North Koreans often, but it's a type of bridgehead they will not let go. The way the Americans will not stop backing places like Taiwan or Israel, they won't stop doing that.
Well, I think
America won't stop having bases in Germany, for example. The Chinese will not stop backing the North Koreans. They just won't. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's to get a foothold in places where you have to have leverage. Germany is a great forward base for that region, so it's also capable of a lot of military action, including from the Air Force. So
Afghanistan was a good forward base for that part of the region too, and guess what happened there? We no longer occupy there.
Well, let's get back to his trial date because it is interesting. It's a funny one. So it's just in time for Christmas, basically, his trial date. Banned kick streamer Johnny Somali, real name Ramzi Khalid Ismail, has caused trouble in every country he's visited. Blah 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 blah. We know that. So he's only been charged with obstruction of business thus far, but there are more charges that are on the horizon. Drug charge is a major one. That's a pretty big one. We don't know. We're speaking about the counterterrorism and stuff like that. We don't know whether those things will happen, but the drugs charge is a pretty major one. He obviously is concerned about it because he shaved his head. So obviously, he's concerned about that one specifically because he went out and, changed his physical appearance to try and avoid drugs testing. So at the time of writing, which was like today, he's been accused of violating the country's anti-terrorism laws, drug use, creating AI deepfakes of streamers, assault, and even spreading North Korean propaganda. So Legal Mindset, another YouTuber, has revealed when Johnny's trial will begin. And it's going to be on December 20th, before Christmas.
Can I just ask, they mentioned assault there. So what was that bit of it?
I don't know. I don't know who it.
I mean,
I don't recall him assaulting anyone. But it might be in one of the scuffles that he had with someone else that was trying to beat him up. So they might be getting him on a counter assault type deal rather than like a self-defense type thing. I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, recording won't be allowed inside the courtroom. But this YouTuber will be providing updates on Twitter as the proceedings take place. Now, there is another update on this, is that the prosecutor against Johnny Somali has an above 90% success rate for convictions on obstruction of business.
They brought out a big gun. Love it.
So it's not looking too good for him, to be fair. It's not looking too good. So apparently South Korean trials have multiple stages. The first hearing will feature the indictment and opening statements, where Somali will have an opportunity to plead guilty if he chooses. Now that's interesting. I do wonder if he will. However, even if he does plead guilty, there will still be a sentencing phase, which will take several weeks.
Do you know if he's being held on remand effectively? If the South Koreans do that, or whether he's been bailed or what?
No, I think he's out because we've seen photos of him out and about. I don't think he's there. Like he's not in prison or anything like that. In jail. So I don't think so. But even the sentencing phase, that's going to take weeks, and new evidence will still be allowed to be presented in the case, even if he does plead guilty, which is just hilarious. So there you go. I mean, it's funny. Sadly, the YouTuber who was a ex-Korean Special Forces chap, the guy who punched Johnny Somali, is unfortunately facing jail time for punching him, which, I'm not a fan of vigilantes and stuff, but look, unfortunately, I don't know. People like this deserve it, and if the police are not going to act on it, you'd expect that the population would instead. And at that point, all bets are off. Like you can't. The police are supposed to do a job. If they don't do it, then the population will. I don't think you should then penalise the population for doing something that police didn't have the balls to do. I think that's stupid, quite frankly. I think that's absolutely dumb. Like
we need a real life Batman.
It's my personal opinion. The guy should be, get a medal or something like that. I don't know, but so there you go. There's the news. Thoughts.
Yeah, it's a shame the dude that knocked him down is facing any sort of jail time. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, because I rewatched that clip the other day, or someone retweeted to me the other day, and he's already got like a little bandage on his eyebrow from when the other like counter South Korean YouTuber was following him around. One of his mates smacked him in the face as well, right? Yeah. He'd already been smacked in the face when that ex-special forces dude properly decked him.
Oh, so funny.
It's just good. It's just like, don't mess with the Koreans, right?
Don't mess with anyone.
Well,
what are you doing?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like he wouldn't pull this shit in.
They're a proud people. And they've got a long history, and they know who they are, and they don't take crap. There's the whole thing during the LA riots of the roof Koreans. They're you treat them lightly at your peril, Koreans. So it's just sweet. It's just sweet that he's going to get some sort of comeuppance.
I love it. I'll be following this closely. This will be very, very funny. This will be good times. Good times. Culture, you got anything to add on this one?
This guy's a scumbag. He's been canceled in a lot of different places or by a lot of different things. He is indefensible and literally a current human stain anywhere he goes. I feel as if he needs to go back to some kind of a school to learn basic human interaction. And I'm not a huge fan of him in any way, if you can't tell already. I'm looking forward to seeing these developments. I don't think he should be unjustly detained for too long, but I believe some discomfort is in order to maybe, as you suggested, learn the errors of his ways. I think, especially if what we've seen on video is what we saw on video, I mean, it's pretty hard to defend if you're him, because he broadcast it all. So I'm like, this is an open and shut case. I would like somebody to give me a reason why he deserves to skate on this.
Fair.
I don't have a lot to add, guys, but my roofer guys are at my front door, need to talk to me before they wrap up for the day. I'll be right back.
Go.
Run. We're supposed to be ending now.
Well, there you go. Anyway, we do have a super chat from Aurora, though. Says, I would love it if we got a MASH-inspired TV show set in some future sci-fi series where they have a war going on and we follow like a hospital ship going around to the aftermath of battles, saving people, wisecracking doctors, humanitarian ones, dry comedy.
Yeah, that's a genius idea.
The thing about MASH, I seem to remember, is that sometimes there were just silly episodes, silly, funny ones. Yeah. And then there'd be like a really deadly serious episode where there's like not really any jokes. And it was really, really sad and poignant and horrible. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah, I do. I really enjoyed it. I hated when it got towards the end and Alan Alda's politics seeped in. But overall, I thought it was a good way to tell a story about a war and man's inhumanity to man. And I think that we need more reminders of that to prevent, people from supporting warmongers. I mean, We've got a guy desperately trying to send money somewhere that is laundering it faster than anybody thought possible.
Yep.
And when we get to the last day of Biden's tenure, I imagine there will be 700,000 pardons that happen so that nobody is investigated or punished for sending our money somewhere and then putting it back in their own pockets. If we start to see a pardon fest, I think you're going to see civil unrest in this country, the likes that you have never seen before.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Well, there we go. And that wraps up our show.